In snooker's Hall of Fame, these two have access to the VIP area. He's made a total clearance of 138. We were hoping for high-quality stuff. We've got it right there in frame one. For the third time, Ronnie O'Sullivan levels up. One more frame then to decide who's going through to the quarterfinals. A break of 91 will do. He took it out in one visit. A match between two great champions of snooker produced a great match. And it's Ronnie O'Sullivan who is the winner.
This is why he's called the Wizard. What a performance from John Higgins. He has blitzed Ronnie O'Sullivan before the interval with 3 centuries on the bounce.
He's done it in his own backyard. There's the handshake. A great performance tonight from John Higgins.
It's their third meet in this season's home nations. It's beautifully poised at 1-1. It's one of sport's greatest ever rivalries. It's Ronnie O'Sullivan against John Higgins. It's the 59th time they would have played against each other. That's the game we're going to concentrate on. It's on the match table. The other quarterfinals, well, just as big for Gary Wilson and you, Delu, and you can watch that one on the Eurosport Player. Here's confirmation of our quarterfinals from earlier on. Noppon Sangkam with his 5-3 win over Ian Burns means he'll play in tomorrow's semi-final. Barry Hawkins, who beat Yang Bingtao by 5 frames to 1. It's a huge night of snooker. It always is when, of course, Ronnie plays John. It's always a big night when I have Neil and Jimmy alongside me. Jimmy, just firstly, we talk about great rivalries in sport, and we've got two of the greatest names in snooker. Two great players, probably two of the greats that have ever picked up a cue. It's always fireworks. How good a night could it be?
Well, you know, I expect to see century breaks, good tactical play, and the respect that these two players have for each other. As you know, every time they talk about other players, they're always saying that them two are the best. Between them, they think that. And Higgins is not frightened of O'Sullivan, but to me, O'Sullivan has just been magnificent. And I've got to edge it slightly for O'Sullivan.
Neil, it's always fascinating when they play each other. It's beautifully poised as well. The Home Nation Series so far, they've met twice. It's one apiece. And both players, in their last 2 matches, no one's dropped a frame. So something's got to give tonight.
I know, and never did it ever seem more like on the night with these two. You know, if someone just turns up and they're a bit off their game, whether it be Ronnie or John, the other guy's going to win. You know, it was a 5-0 win for John Higgins last time against Ronnie. And Ronnie had been winning everything at that point just before Christmas. Whether he was tired, I don't know. But just felt like John was the better player. So it literally is one of those matches you just can't tell who's going to win until you might get a few clues after half a frame. Just one of them might be looking great and the other one not so.
Of course, both players will be looking to book their place in tomorrow's semi-final. We do have 2 players that are already through, Barry Hawkins and Noppon Sangkam. They played this afternoon. What did you make of their performance, Jimmy?
Well, Noppon Sangkam was a bit, he was a bit nervous. You know, he managed to get 3-1 up. Ian Burns to be a bit disappointed with the way he played. You know, he's been playing some good snooker. But Hawkins today against Bingtao was top draw, and that's the best he's played all season. So he'll be up for going through to hopefully get to the final.
Yeah, Barry Hawkins looked good. He looked very smooth as well. We know he's had a difficult 12 months, but he looked back to his best, didn't he, this afternoon?
He played really well. I think it's almost a compliment to the guy who's playing Yang Bingtao because he's a really good player coming through. And I think Barry knew he had to play well. And even at the end, even when it was at the point where Bingtao needed a snooker 4-1 up, he wasn't prepared to take any risks. So that's almost a compliment to the other guy, but the Hawk is back.
He is indeed. Both of those players, of course, through to tomorrow's semi-final. 2 places remain, and, of course, one of them will go tonight, and it will either be John Higgins or Rocket Ronnie O'Sullivan. And we can hear the views now of Ronnie. He's with Phil Studd.
Ronnie, I remember you saying after one of your World Championship wins, I think it was when you were working with Ray Reardon, that when you really felt in the zone on the table, you could make the balls talk. Is that how you've kind of been feeling for a lot of this season and indeed during this tournament? Because it certainly looked that way with the way you're manoeuvring those reds around, getting great position.
I think I felt like that for the last 6 years, really. You know, obviously it dips in and out, but last 6 years I've just felt really in control of my game, just knowing I'm going to win tournaments, knowing that I can't play well all the time, but it will come, and when it comes, I can't see anybody being able to stop me from winning. So, you know, that's great to have that feeling. but obviously it's not there all the time, so sometimes you just have to be patient and wait for it. But it's nice to know that it's in your locker, yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? When it's not there now, and it's been there for most of this season, but when it isn't, you seem to be much more serene about that, and you just think to yourself, there's another tournament round the corner, I'll try them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot better now. You know, even when I've won tournaments, you know, I've come off and you've asked me how I've done or how I felt, and I've said, yeah, I played really well and fantastic, and actually I haven't. So I'm a lot better now at kind of not telling everybody how I'm playing, just keeping it a bit of a secret, letting people sort of not know what's going on, and I think that's better for me to do that, and I think it gives me, you know, I'm just keeping my cards a bit more closer to my chest, really.
If you'd met Dr. Steve Peters a decade earlier than you did, do you think that that trophy cabinet might now be overflowing in a way that even now it isn't?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's overflowing now, but yeah, I think if I'd have met him, you know, maybe when I was about 18, 19, I probably would have had 10 world titles, maybe 10 Masters, 10 UKs. But like you say, like Steve said, it's better late than never. You know, you might have come and met me 5 years later than you did. So you know, I'm just trying to enjoy the sort of period that I'm in and what I've learnt with Steve, and you know, that I've finally become the all-round player, really.
Depending on who you speak to, he is the game's greatest ever players. Five world titles, I should say, 6 UKs, 7 Masters. The list of what this guy has done on the table is up there with the best of them. Jimmy, when you first saw Ronnie when he was a kid, even before he turned pro, maybe when he was 14 or 15, and you heard good things about him, did you think he'd go on to just be as incredible as he's turned out to be? Yeah,
you know, he was like, you know, you see videos of Tiger Woods, you know, when he was sort of 12, 13. Sullivan, I heard about him, and then I seen him when I think he was 16, and just phenomenal striker of the ball, you know, and cue ball control, which I think he's gone up another level with his cue ball control, because he makes the next shot so easy through the art of position. He makes the game look easy. And as he says there, he's never going to tell us how he's playing, but he can't hide the way he's been playing there, because he's been playing superb now, hasn't he?
Neil, let me ask you, he's not dropped a frame all week. His last 2 matches combined, he only conceded 57 points. Have you seen a standard like this from a player for a long time?
No, and it's always with Ronnie, you know, he's never workmanlike. You know, he doesn't win a match 4-0 and just, you know, get over the line. He's brilliant. I mean, he actually could have lost. This was his toughest match on paper, you know, of the ones he's played. Graham Dott, who's been playing well, and Dotty was well in front in the very first frame that Ronnie played this week. And he snookered him there. This was a tremendous shot, pink to black. And that was a match where he just needed to get off to a good start. So that frame probably was very important, actually, because Dotty's been playing well. And now this was against David Grace. This is where he just burst the reds all over the table here. The 2 reds are in the way, but that doesn't stop him, because he just bumps the reds into the bunch. Everything's moving. They're like ants all swarming around the table, the reds. And, you know, he just completely... Well, he just completely run roughshod off over the 2 guys he played yesterday. You know, Mike Dunn in the evening, but before that, you know, David Grace. He's much better than those 2 players, albeit that, you know, they're good at their own level.
Jimmy, we had Ronnie on the couch yesterday. He was talking about him and John, and if you like, they've sort of pushed each other. They've been rivals since they were teenagers. I would imagine that, you know, when one gets better, the other one wants to overtake them. In fact, we saw that with ranking wins. Early this season, John got to 29 and Ronnie was on 28. And now Ronnie's overtaken him with, 32 ranking titles to his name. So they're as good for each other as anyone else, really, in the game, aren't they?
Absolutely. You know, they have come through year in and year out, you know, and every time they play each other, it's like, you know, it's like Roger Federer and Djokovic. It's the 2 best players in the world playing, and... and deservedly so, you know, they do, whoever they play, they sort of steamroll, unless it's the likes of Selby, but there's not many players who can keep up with them.
This is the all-time list. Of course, Stephen Hendry with 7 world titles is up there with 36 ranking titles. Ronnie now only 4 off him with 32, John Higgins on 29, and then the ginger magician, the nugget, Steve Davis, on 28. Listen, John Higgins, of course, he's hit a bit of form as well. He's equally not dropped a frame this week, knocked in 2 tons in his last match against Nigel Bond. Is it going to be an open match tonight? Do you expect any safety? Unless, of course, they need it. But do you expect both players to be quite attacking tonight?
Well, yes, but yeah, I think the table is very attacking, actually, believe it or not. I think the table's conducive to big scoring. But these two guys, if they need to, they can put their opponent on that cushion and nail them there for about half an hour. So we just have to see how it goes. But they've both got everything.
Have indeed. I'm so excited about it. It's only about 5 minutes away. We've already heard from Rocket Ronnie. Let's get the views of John Higgins.
The likes of Ronnie's, he's done dominating, obviously, alongside Selby. Mark's obviously rejuvenated this year, obviously with the sight right method that he's doing. He's playing brilliant again, and I'm sticking in there. I still love playing the likes of Ronnie. He's the one player, obviously, he brings the crowds, whatever city you play him in the world, he brings that buzz, which is great. Yeah, I've said it many times before, and even when I seen him when I was 15, I thought he was the best player in the world. That was just whenever I seen him, he's just a fabulous player, brilliant player, and every player loves watching him play. But you still, I think the advantage, like to myself and maybe Mark as well, when we play him, is we've grew up with him. So you obviously respect him as a player, you know how great he is, but you can see with some of the other younger players, he still puts the fear of God in them all now. Whereas he doesn't really do that with myself. I know how great a player, but I just try and get in, think about my game when I play him, because that's all you can do. Snookers, that's if you take care of your own business, you have every chance of doing well. So, but he puts the fear of God into me sometimes as well.
Neil, let me ask you, they have met, of course, twice so far in the home nations. Ronnie won 4-3 in the English, and John whitewashed him in the Scottish 5-0. No result would really surprise you tonight. If John went out and did exactly the same, you wouldn't be that surprised, would you? I
think the only other time John ever whitewashed him was right at the beginning when they played each other. No, I wouldn't be surprised. And, you know, and the reason you wouldn't be surprised is John summed it up there. He frightens a lot of players, but he's not really frightened of him. He respects him greatly. But if he gets the chance to beat Ronnie, he will take it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Jimmy, you've, of course, known Ronnie for as long as he's been a pro, and even before that as well. You've been hanging about with him today. What sort of mood is he in at the moment?
Listen, he's buzzing, you know, and he's not talking too much about his snooker because he's a bit of a perfectionist, but he is hitting the ball fantastic, you know, and we're all loving it. We all love watching it. So tonight's match, he's playing the guy he thinks is sort of the second best player to him, and he'll be up for this match big time. And I think it'll be close. I think 5-3 O'Sullivan.
Yeah, well, it's going to be close because, of course, John's hitting the ball as well. I mean, it's so wonderful that we've got to this situation where both players are playing, I wouldn't say the snooker of their lives, but it's up there with the best they've played for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, look at this shot. On that blue, he looked at... There's one place he could pot from that blue, the red, and get the other red in play. You know, he's such a meticulous player. You know, here he had a chance, actually, for a 1-4-7, which continued there because he played a nice cannon. Unfortunately, it never happened for him. He had to settle for 1-4-4. Which is not a bad break in itself. And then, you know, he had a similar sort of setup yesterday, didn't he? Where, you know, he played Nigel Bond and beat him comfortably. I think it was only Steve Maguire earlier in the week who took a frame or two off him. But they're both in streets ahead of him.
How much do you think they do drive each other? Do you think either would be as successful without the other one, Neil?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess so. That someone turn you along a little bit. I think even you could add Mark Williams to that. He's been towed along a little bit by the fact that Ronnie's been winning, so he's started winning as well. You know, they've all been going back so far. There's a great rivalry. I mean, I don't think they're sort of very close friends. They're certainly not enemies. They've just grown up together. You know, it's the difference, isn't there?
I think you find that, you know, deep down inside, without them, you know, declaring it, the winner of this match, they think is going to win the tournament. You know, this is their sort of final in a way sometimes, because they're that much above most players, except for, like, obviously Selby. But Hawkins has proved today that he's going to take some beating.
Right, the waiting is nearly over. They played as kids. They've been playing as pros for a long time. This is the 59th meeting between the two, and it's coming up in just a moment.
Formula E. Plug into the championship changing the game as an electrifying season races on. the Mexico City E-Prix, tomorrow, live on Eurosport.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsors of snooker on Eurosport.
And a warm welcome back to the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff. This is where we are at. We've had 2 quarter-finals. Noman Sangkam earlier on this afternoon booked his place in tomorrow's semi-finals with a 5-3 win over Ian Burns, and he will play Barry Hawkins, who beat Yang Bingtao by 5 frames to 1. 2 more quarter-finals left. On the Eurosport player, Gary Wilson plays Yu Delu, but the game will concentrate on the match table. Features 2 of the game's greatest ever players, Ronnie O'Sullivan against John Higgins. This is the 59th time they've played as pros. Here's the last 5 meetings. Ronnie's won 4 of those 5, but as you can see, the last one, John Higgins won without even dropping a frame. Neil and Jimmy are alongside me on the couch. It's time to get their final thoughts. So come on, James, what's going to happen? What sort of game? What are we going to see come the mid-session interval? 4 frames played.
It's like, a heavyweight championship fight, a world title fight. You've got the 2 best players in the world playing at the top of their form. If you're a snooker fan, this is where you've got to be.
Neil, I'm very excited about it. I know you two are. I know the crowd here, everyone at home. Do the players feel different when it's a game like this?
I think so. These 2 playing each other, and also the chance to win the tournament as well if they was to win. Yeah, I think that there's a lot to look forward to tonight, and I think there could be, at some point there's going to be a 1-4-7 opportunity, I think.
What, tonight?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
OK. The last meeting I mentioned there that John won without dropping a frame, whitewashing Ronnie O'Sullivan. Is that in the mind's that play on the mind at all?
Ronnie was unbeaten for quite a while there. He'd won loads of tournaments, won in China, come back. He was exhausted, but that was no excuse. John Higgins beaten fair and square 5-0 that time. That's what they can do to each other. They're that good.
Do you think that John's got more to prove in this match? Because Ronnie's had the best season of his life, hasn't he, so far?
I don't think either player has much to prove. I think John would like to win again. He won in India. It was kind of our summer, so it's quite a while since he actually won anything by his high standards. I don't think either has anything to prove. I think it will get all 9 frames tonight. That's all I'm going to predict. Don't know who's going to win.
OK. And how important do you think this competition is, Jim? Because let's not forget, we're in March now. World Championship begins in April. So it's nice to build a bit of momentum going into that, isn't it?
I think it's more important for John Higgins, because Ronnie O'Sullivan's won 4 ranking tournaments. If John Higgins would win this tournament going into the World Championships. But John Higgins is such the ultimate professional, such a fantastic player. As Neil said, he's got nothing to prove. And he can go there and beat Ronnie O'Sullivan. But I just fancy Ronnie's got the edge tonight.
It's worth remembering that John really could be walking out as world champion tonight, because he led Selby quite heavily, in the final, going into the second day. I think he was 10-4 up. So, anyway, there's other matches as well. There's Gary Wilson who's playing.
Yeah, let me get your view on that one. What's going to happen in the other quarterfinal? That's live on the Eurosport player, by the way, gang. What's going to happen in that one?
Well, I think we both rate Gary Wilson, don't we? I mean, I don't know about you, Jimmy. I've heard you saying lots of things about him. He's a real good player, not highly rated by everybody.
A fantastic player. He's improved on his temperament. He was one of these players who lost his cool quite a bit. He got to the final of a ranking tournament, got annihilated by Selby, and it's took him a long time to recover, but he's now back in the quarterfinals, and he scores heavily enough. He's got a chance of winning.
He made a 1-4-7 at the World Qualifiers, and then played Ronnie O'Sullivan, didn't he, after that, and he gave Ronnie a good game.
His opponent is Yu Delu, also looking for a place, of course, in the last 4. Jimmy, you a fan of his?
I would say Wilson should beat him, really, on paper, but Yu Delu this week has beat some real good players.
He didn't he, in the last round?
Yeah.
That was a really good win.
And he's...
Who do you fancy in that one, just quickly, boys?
Wilson.
Jimmy?
Same Wilson, yeah. There is Mr. John Higgins coming through there.
Yeah. He'll be relaxed and, of course, very excited. And then Rocket Ronnie will be out. Just quickly then, before I hand over to our boys in the box, what will the score be? What do you fancy, Jimmy?
5-3 O'Sullivan.
You know, 5-3. You fancy a 1-4-7 either way?
Yeah, not all 9 frames are going to be played. I'm guessing the snow has affected the walk-ons tonight, because they're all coming out to the same tune. I find weird. Must be weather-related. Must be some kind of problem.
I think it must be. Well, because of the bad weather, that means that you lot out there should be glued to this one, although you would be anyway, wouldn't you? It's going to be an absolute cracker. If you do want to contact us here at Eurosport, any questions for the boys, remember, we do have a mid-session interval, so if you want to suggest a trick shot for Jimmy to have a go at, then feel free. You can get involved via Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. Use the hashtag HomeNation. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Let's hand over to our boys in the box, Joe Johnson, and first up, Philip Studd.
Snooker's own version of Ali and Frazier. And it's always extra special, isn't it, when two titans within the